I've been staying out of the way of law enforcement all this time. I thought I was doing the best thing by not coming down on law enforcement. And it's been too many years of no action. Nothing's been done. So I'm tired of waiting. I had the investigator over the case right now out of Scurry County. He told me one time, he said he doesn't care if it takes 20 years to do this. And I do care if it takes 20 years. I don't want the person that hurt my kid that doesn't need to walk the street for 20 years.
"13-year-old Hailey Dunn came from the small town of Colorado City in Texas. With a population of just under 4,000 people, the area Hailey was from had a particularly tight community. Hailey was described by her dad Clint as a tomboy that loved glittery and pretty things. Her mom, Billie Jean Dunn, said she always remembers her laugh, big smile, and how funny she was. She was a bright and energetic teenager. Hailey's friends said she loved to joke around and she was never afraid to speak her mind. She was a cheerleader, a saxophone player, and a competitive and talented athlete, loving school, her friends, and her teachers. By the time she reached the 8th grade, she was playing for the volleyball, basketball, and softball teams. Her parents would separate when she was 10, and Hailey and her older brother David went to live with their mother and her boyfriend, Shawn Adkins, on Chestnut Street in Colorado City. Hailey and her dad Clint were especially close. Clint lived just across the road from them, and Hailey would swing by his house every day. Whether it be just popping in to say hi before school or staying over for dinner, she never missed an opportunity to spend time with him. Christmas Day 2010. Hailey's grandmother Connie said that Hailey was in great spirits that day. She was excited about the gifts she had received that year, especially her new iPod, and spent most of Christmas and Boxing Day with her father. During the evening on Boxing Day, David, Hailey's 16-year-old brother, went to a friend's house for a sleepover. Hailey stayed at home and played video games into the night. The following morning, December 27th, Shawn left for work at 5:30 a.m. Billie Jean also left about an hour later to start a 12-hour shift. She said she checked in on Hailey, who was sound asleep in her bed. Everything appeared to be fine. Billie said that Hailey would be home alone all day, as she and Shawn would be out at work. And she assumed that when Hailey got up, she would simply head over to her dad's house as she normally would. Billie also left her cell phone at home so the children could use it if they needed to. Shawn arrived at his job in Snyder at around 6 a.m. He then said he got into a bad fight with his boss 10 minutes after he arrived and ended up quitting on the spot, before heading to his mother's house in Big Spring, and then driving back to Colorado City, just before 3 p.m. Hailey's father Clint was used to seeing his daughter every day, but on December 27th, Hailey didn't knock his door, and he didn't hear from her all day. At around 2 o'clock that afternoon, a text was sent from the cell phone left at the house to a friend of Hailey's saying, "WYD, what you doing?" This friend never replied. Later that evening, Shawn picked Billie up from work. Billie said that when she got home, she realised Hailey wasn't in the house. She asked Shawn if he had seen her. He said that Hailey had left the house on foot to go to her father's, and then had plans to stay the night at her friend Mary Beth's house. But Clint confirmed this definitely wasn't the case.
That was my day, and then I came home around, I guess like 3 o'clock I got there, and Hailey was there watching TV in the living room, and I went to me and Billie's bedroom, and she came in there and told me that she was going to her father's house and that she was staying the night with a friend, and then she left. And then I was there by myself for maybe an hour at the most, and then David and a friend came over, and I went to his room and they were playing video games and so forth. And Billy called me and told me that that her relief got there and that she's going to get to leave a little early. So I was up there at the hospital in Snyder around 6 o'clock to pick her up, and then we came back. And then we went to bed shortly after that.
And this whole time you were thinking Hailey was at a friend's house?
Yes.
About what time did she say she was leaving at?
What time Hailey was leaving? I guess it was sometime in between 3 and 3:30 when she said she was leaving. It was like shortly after I got there. I'm not real sure about a time.
Does she normally call and check in every so often, or is it normal to not hear from her for so long?
It's pretty normal for her just to not call, because she usually does that, though, because she does stay the night at a friend's house. She'll be back the next morning.
The next morning came and went, and Hailey was still not home. Billy decided to phone Mary Beth's parents, who confirmed they hadn't seen Hailey at all, and she definitely didn't spend the night with them. Nothing was missing from Hailey's room, and certain things everyone would have expected her to take if she was staying at someone's house were all still there. Billy started going door to door, asking everyone if they had seen her daughter. But no one had. Billy said she was scared that maybe someone had driven past and snatched her while she was walking to a store, and she even wondered if maybe Hailey had been in a bad mood, which resulted in her storming out of the house that day. A missing persons report was filed on the afternoon of the 28th of December. Investigators initially classed Hailey's disappearance as a runaway, but a short while later her case was reclassified as a missing child case. This was a decision that the police would later receive immense backlash for making. The community rallied around the family and sprung into action to try and find Hailey. The media quickly ran with the story too. Clint was devastated and distraught at his daughter's disappearance, and he spent every waking moment looking for her. He rifled through dumpsters, searched the streets and alleyways, and anywhere else he could think of. People reported that this level of concern was not shared by Billy and Shawn. As the searches expanded into more vast and open areas, reporters recalled that Billy didn't want to partake in these searches. Billy herself said that while she was happy to hand out flyers and talk to the media, she couldn't deal with looking in wooded areas or fields, because that made her think they were looking for her daughter's body. Searching these more rural areas was also something that Clint struggled to do. Billy's boyfriend Shawn, however, didn't even hand out flyers, let alone participate in the searches, and he was very far removed from the investigation. Numerous people were questioned, including registered sex offenders in the area, but everyone was quickly ruled out. Wednesday, December 29th, Clint and Billy's homes were searched, and a day later, the National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children got involved in the case. Dogs managed to track Hailey's scent throughout the neighbourhood, which led them to a nearby motel. But the staff there did not recall seeing Hailey, and she wasn't seen on any of the surveillance footage either. A thorough search of all 24 suites in the building failed to produce any evidence that Hailey had ever been there. Billy and Shawn threw a New Year's Eve party on the 31st, just 4 days after Hailey was reported missing, and many people were confused at the timing of this. Billy said she didn't even realise it was New Year's Eve, and that the reason that family and friends came over was to support her. But Clint had a different take. He said that he stood on his porch with binoculars looking for his daughter, watching Billy and Shawn party into the night. "I don't see how you can just celebrate the new year when your daughter is missing," he said. "That should be the last thing on your mind." As the new year rolled around, the close community entered it with a sombre and subdued feeling. With still no trace, sighting of, or word from Hailey Dunn, the lengthy and painstaking searches continued.
Well, Lane and Victor, we're going into day 9 in the search for Hailey Dunn, and there's still no sign of her. When I visited with the Dunn family this morning, I saw Texas Rangers scouring through Hailey's room. If we take a look over here, this is the window to her bedroom. Now, Texas Rangers, I'm told, have not found anything and no sign of foul play or any sign of her packing her bags and running away from home at this time. More than a week later, and still no sign of Hailey. Her mother says it's frustrating, but she remains hopeful.
But I have to do nothing but hope that she left by herself and that she's going to come back to me, because if I don't cling on to that hope, I don't have anything.
Now, local authorities tell me they're following several tips at this time. Several agencies have stepped in, and the reward once again is $25,000 for tips that lead to Hailey Dunn.
On January 4th, 2011, Texas Rangers and the FBI came on board to look into Hailey's disappearance. More than 100 billboards featuring Hailey's picture and information were set up throughout Texas and other states. Hailey's case gained even more attention when Nancy Grace reported on it and interviewed Billie Jean Dunn. This took the case to a new national level.
Hailey's case was on national television, and Nancy Grace seemed to be a little hard on you. What was that like, hearing her question Billie like that?
I heard about it. I wasn't there when Billie was getting interviewed by her. I was talking to the Texas Rangers, but I heard about it, and it's frustrating, what she said about me, but it really doesn't bother me because, my main focus is just Hailey, because we just want her to come home safe.
Does it hurt to think people would point fingers at you, the person who cares about her?
Yeah, it hurts. It does.
Describe to me the relationship between you and Hailey.
It's really good relationship, and I love her with all my heart, and I believe she loves me with all her heart, and we get along just fine.
See, is there anything else you want people to know about you and your relationship with the family at all? Because it seems like a lot of people are buzzing on the internet about it.
Yeah, as far as me, Hailey, and Billie and David, we all get along just fine. And I would never do nothing to that little girl. I love her with all my heart. And I just wish for her a safe return.
The following day, January the 5th, Billie asked Shawn to leave the home. This was not an uncommon thing, as the pair frequently rowed, often making up a few days later. But as the investigation was now deepening, more about Hailey's home life started to come out. Reporters said that although her home life appeared to be simple and carefree from the outside, behind closed doors, it was far more complex and difficult for the 13-year-old and her brother. One reporter said, "We got word about a lot of alcohol, a lot of partying from her mother, and so you get the sense that maybe home life was a little harder than what they let on." Billie Jean Dunn and Shawn Adkins had been on the police's radar long before Hailey disappeared. Around 10 months before Hailey was last seen, calls were made to police regarding a domestic disturbance between Billie and Shawn. The pair both called the police to report each other, and when officers arrived at the house, the couple were argumentative and combative.
I really need to file a report on somebody.
What exactly happened?
I broke up with this guy a couple of days ago, and he's telling me that he's going to kill me and that it's going to be remembered for a long time.
I got a situation on my hands. I have an ex-girlfriend. She's taking a whole bunch of society pills that I take. So I guess she got them from me, and she said she took a bunch of her pain pills too. And she's saying that she wants to die, so she filed a report on me, for threats and stuff like that. So she's just upset about it. She's just, not being herself right now.
Threatening to kill her.
Damn it.
It's Billie Dunn.
Oh, God. He's been going all day. All right, I'll go up there.
Shortly after this, as was very common, Billie and Shawn patched things up, and Shawn moved back into the home. Billie herself said that Hailey didn't see Shawn as a stepdad or father figure, and they were more friends than anything else. But according to others close to Hailey, she did not like Shawn at all, and felt afraid of him.
Things that Hailey used to tell me about the man.
What kind of things?
She didn't like him. She didn't trust him. She was afraid of him.
I don't want to be here right now. I'm going to be here with you because I don't feel right with my stepdad.
She told her grandmother Connie that she would often see Shawn's shadow in the middle of the night outside her bedroom door, and she was terrified that he would enter her room as she slept. Detectives asked Billy and Shawn to undertake polygraph tests. They both had to retake the tests due to being under the influence of narcotics at the time of the first one. But Billy said this was simply an anti-anxiety medication that had been prescribed to her by her doctor. Shawn Adkins walked out of the test at least twice, and on the third attempt he only completed stage 1. He said he felt it had become a witch hunt and they were trying to force him into admitting to something he hadn't done. But he did give the detectives something. When he was asked about where he thought Hailey might be, Shawn responded, in Scurry County. When asked who the police should be looking at as suspects, he simply replied, "Both of us." The test did show these two answers were truthful, but he refused to explain any further before walking out again and not completing stage 2. The results of Billy's second polygraph test and stage 1 of Shawn's both showed that deception was indicated on several questions.
I want to thank everyone for coming this afternoon and giving me an opportunity to make a statement. First, I want to speak directly to Hailey in case she's listening. Wherever you are, Hailey, I'm looking for you. Hundreds of people are looking for you. We all want you home safe. I just want to see and touch your beautiful face. I really love you. I desperately need you home. And there's not a minute goes by I'm not praying for you or crying wishing you were in my living room. I can't handle not knowing where you are or if you're safe. You're the most beautiful girl I've ever laid my eyes on, and I'm very proud that God chose me to be your mother. Next, I want to say if someone out there has Hailey, please let her go. Just turn her loose, drop her off at a church, a school, a police station, anywhere that she can get to a phone and call police or call her family. I've been flat out called a liar by some people. Others speculate on my possible involvement in Hailey's disappearance or wonder if I'm covering up for somebody. Some people accuse me of withholding information and not cooperating with law enforcement. These things are not true, but I now feel that I have to defend myself from ridiculous accusations, slander, or defamation of character.
Over the coming months, vigils and searches continued throughout Colorado City, but the volunteers were often hindered for weeks at a time due to the freezing temperatures. Colorado City Police then held a press conference. They said they were now investigating the case as if Hailey was under duress or deceased. Early into the investigation, cell phone and bank records belonging to both Shawn Adkins and Billie Jean Dunn were analysed. Shawn's previous place of work was also looked at. It turned out that Shawn hadn't been fired from his job after all. His boss told investigators that Shawn turned up for work at 6 a.m. on December 27th and bought a drink before handing in his uniform and quitting on the spot. And at 6:10, he drove away. Shawn later admitted he had lied about being fired to try and avoid an argument with Billie Jean. Shawn told detectives that he went straight from Snyder to his mother's house in Big Spring to use her computer to sign on to unemployment benefits. But cell phone records showed this was simply not possible. Between 6:35 and 6:56 a.m, Shawn's phone pinged off of a tower in Colorado City, which was almost 50 miles away from Big Spring. The data did put him in Big Spring, but not until between the hours of 9:38 a.m. and 2:40 p.m. More cell phone tower pings also put Shawn in the area of Scurry County that day. Shawn told police that after visiting his mother's house, he was back in Colorado City by 3 p.m. and saw and spoke to Hailey for the last time at 3:15, before she left to go to her father's. However, more mobile data confirmed that Shawn was still in Big Spring at 2:40 p.m, which would have left him with just a 20-minute window to make a 40-mile drive. David, Hailey's brother, said when he returned home on December 27th at around 4 p.m, he found the door was locked. After knocking for a while to try and get in, he managed to enter the home through a window. David found Shawn standing in the hallway, looking like a deer in headlights. In an affidavit, Hailey's uncle recalled a conversation he had had with Shawn regarding her disappearance. Her uncle said he couldn't believe anyone would ever want to hurt a child. Shawn replied, "It's like killing a deer." Bank records showed that after Shawn picked up Billy from work at around 6 p.m, the couple stopped at 2 ATM machines where Billy withdrew a total of $140. Billy originally told the police that the money was withdrawn to buy groceries and gas, but investigators later realised the pair used the money to buy narcotics. Concerned that Shawn and Billy were potentially using narcotics inside the family home around children, detectives wanted to take a much closer look inside the house. Following this, detectives found that Billy and Shawn had printed hundreds of articles found online, all of which profiled and talked about serial killers, sexual sadism, and family member murders. But Billy said this was just something they were interested in, and that plenty of people were into true crime. On January 12, 2011, it was revealed that Shawn was now officially being considered a person of interest in the case. He, however, denied any involvement. David was then removed from the home by Child Protective Services. On February 24th, authorities made a shocking find. Over 100,000 images of child pornography on a memory stick were found in Billy's home and on a computer in Shawn's mother's house. A laptop was also seized and held at the station. Hailey's father Clint said that Shawn's stepfather went to the police station demanding the laptop be returned to Shawn, which it was. Arrests were not made regarding these findings, however, but it was presented to a grand jury. Sheriff Toombs said of this, "You have more than one person in the home in each case, so you have to make sure and verify who is going to be the one responsible." On March 17, 2011, authorities went to Billy and Shawn's home to talk to Shawn. Billy said he wasn't there, but when officers entered the home using a warrant, they found he was hiding inside the house. Billy was then arrested and charged with lying to the police. In June 2011, Billie Jean Dunn was sentenced to a suspended 90-day jail term and a year's probation for lying about Shawn's whereabouts. Billy served her probation over 250 miles away in Travis County, where she had moved with Shawn. The couple did eventually break up in 2012 and went their separate ways. Billie Jean said she started to believe he was involved in her daughter's disappearance after it was confirmed that as well as local police, the FBI also considered him to be a person of interest. As time went on, searches for Hailey began to dwindle. With each vigil that was held, tips and leads would slowly start to trickle in, only for the case to go cold again shortly after. Another year would pass, with still no movement in Hailey's case. But on March 16, 2013, a hiker found human remains 20 miles away from Colorado City, near Lake J.B. Thomas in Scurry County.
2013, local authorities were notified of human remains located near Lake J.B. Thomas in southwest Scurry County. The remains were sent to the University of North Texas Center for Human Identification for DNA analysis. On April 26, 2013, the Scurry County District Attorney's Office received written confirmation that the remains have been positively identified as those of Hailey Dunn.
Authorities did not confirm the cause of death, but Clint said he was told by investigators that Hailey had most likely died from blunt force trauma. A $15,000 reward was offered for any information leading directly to the arrest of the killer or killers of Hailey Dunn. Sadly, the family had to wait a painful 4 years until they could finally lay Hailey to rest in January of 2017.
A Texas mother, desperate to find her daughter's killer, is speaking out. It was 6 years ago when 13-year-old Hailey Dunn went missing after leaving her father's home in Colorado City, that's west of Abilene. Her remains were found 3 years later, but her killer remains at large. Her mother, who is from Austin, says she has hope justice will be served.
I still want to believe every time you tell me that there's going to be an arrest soon. I keep that faith.
In 2018, Clint Dunn told the media he believed his daughter was attacked, either by Shawn himself or by his ex-wife Billie Jean Dunn, while Shawn assisted. "They're both involved," he said. That's not even up for discussion anymore. Clint was constantly in touch with the police, begging them to make an arrest in his daughter's case. But the investigating teams still needed more.
I've been staying out of the way of law enforcement all this time. I thought I was doing the best thing by not coming down on law enforcement. And it's been too many years of no action. Nothing's been done. So I'm tired of waiting. I had the investigator over the case right now out of Scurry County. He told me one time, he said he doesn't care if it takes 20 years to do this. And I do care if it takes 20 years. I don't want the person that hurt my kid that doesn't need to walk the street for 20 years.
You think that person is still out there somewhere?
Yeah. I think he's here in this town. Big Spring, Texas.
You think he's in Big Spring?
Mm-hmm. I know he was 2 months ago.
You have somebody in mind?
Shawn Adkins.
You think it's Shawn Adkins, the only named suspect?
Yep. And I think that Billie Jean knows something. She said too many lies. She's avoided too much. And she knows more than what she said.
Clint Dunn's many appeals on social media caught the attention of an anonymous person who reportedly found several items belonging to Hailey Dunn during late spring, early summer of 2011. The person who found the items was in middle school at the time and had no knowledge of Hailey or her disappearance. Because of this, they did not tell the authorities about what they had found. In 2019, this person saw one of Clint's social media posts about Hailey. It was only then they remembered what they had found. They reached out to Clint to tell him. The items and their location has not been publicly revealed, but Clint said they were found in an area that was searched countless times in the initial stages of the investigation. Private investigator Erica Morse has been working closely with Clint Dunn since his daughter disappeared. Erica said she uncovered evidence and spoke to officials, but said they had been silent since Hailey's remains were found. She said they wouldn't return her calls or update anyone on whether there was any movement in the case. In October 2019, Erica said she began receiving messages from women in and around West Texas who were being harassed online by a man going by the name of Casey. Knowing this was Shawn Adkins' middle name, she asked them to send the videos and photos to her that he had sent to them. These confirmed that it was him. On October 28, 2019, Erica accompanied one of the women that was being harassed by him to the police department to make a report. But they were turned away by an officer who accused the victim of fabricating the story. This pushed Erica to pen an open letter, urging that if Shawn wasn't arrested soon, more victims would undoubtedly follow. But 2 more years would pass, and it wouldn't be until 2021 where the case would take a big turn. In May 2021, Erica did hear back from the Mitchell County District Attorney, and they requested a meeting with her and Clint. Erica said, "During that meeting, we were assured that during the month of June, Hailey's killer would be arrested." And with this, more than a decade after Hailey Dunn was reported missing, and 7 years after her remains were found, an arrest was finally made.
Reaction from Colorado City tonight is emotional and also getting straight to the point. Shawn Adkins is sitting in the Mitchell County Jail tonight, charged for the murder of 13-year-old Hailey Dunn. She first went missing over 10 years ago. You know, this community, they have spent more than a decade searching for a young girl, searching for answers, searching really for justice. We are a step closer to that tonight. The arrest of Shawn Adkins is what the community of Colorado City has been waiting on for a long time.
District Attorney Ricky Thompson consulted with the Texas Rangers Unsolved Crimes Investigation Program regarding the case. The Texas Rangers then obtained a search warrant to get a sample of Shawn's DNA. On June 13, 2021, a warrant was issued and Shawn Casey Adkins was arrested and charged with the murder of Hailey Dunn. Billy Dunn said, "I'm not really shocked at the news that it was Shawn. Of course you would have hoped it wasn't him because I stayed with him after she left, after Hailey went missing, but I'm not surprised, and I thank God that that person has been apprehended and is going to pay for what he did here on Earth." Shawn Adkins is currently being held on a $2 million bond, and as of July 2021, he has not yet entered a plea.
KCBD Investigates team, the Mitchell County District Attorney's Office has released a single page from Shawn Adkins' arrest warrant. He is the man police hold responsible for killing Hailey Dunn in Colorado City. Big Spring police arrested him last month, but we don't know why. When KCBD requested the arrest warrant, we were sent to Mitchell County, and the DA there refused, citing Texas law, claiming it blocked us from access to this public record since it involves the alleged abuse and death of a child. So now, while we're waiting on the Attorney General to rule on this decision, in the meantime, it has been 10 days since our request for the entire arrest warrant and affidavit. We have only this part of the warrant so far, ordering any law enforcement agent to arrest Shawn Adkins for the charge of murder out of Colorado City. But that does not shed any light on what led Mitchell County to that conclusion. So our Investigates team will keep pursuing your right to know about what police say led to the death of Hailey Dunn.
Following Shawn's arrest, Erica Morse referred to Hailey's dad Clint as the driving force in the case and said that he was a template for every parent who wants to find justice for their child. Clint said, "Right now there are no words to define how I feel. We will let the trial speak the truth. Thank you to everyone who searched for Hailey and to those who fought tirelessly for an arrest. Hopefully true justice will come in the courtroom." This case is still ongoing, but the family hopes that this will see that justice for Hailey Dunn is finally served.